15 minutes after 8 o'clock at WAKR, and here we go. It's time to go to film school. Film study professor Joe Fortunato joins us Fridays at this time, and he's going to meet us today. That's a hint. I'll let Joe take it from there. Good morning, Mr. Fortunato, and welcome to the show again.
Well, good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And we are going into the way back machine today. We are going to be talking about, believe it or not, the 80th anniversary of what I think is a holiday classic, and many agree with me, Meet Me in St. Louis, which had a U.S. premiere in late 1944, November, and then it went on a wide release in January of 1945. It's directed by Vincent Minnelli. Stars Judy Garland, Margaret O'Brien, Mary Astor. For those who aren't familiar, it's a classic MGM musical and holiday theme. It's about young love and childish fears throughout the year in the life of a turn-of-a-century family. It's got great songs that you probably know, even if you've never seen the movie, like the Trolley Song and The Boy Next Door, Meet Me in St. Louis, and of course the big one, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And that's what ties us into the holiday theme today. We always like to try and do a holiday theme movie before our Christmas break. And we've done some in the past. And this year we're going back to the MGM musical vault. This movie had 4 Oscar nominations, including screenplay, cinematography, music, and the song for the Trolley Song was nominated for an Oscar. Didn't win any of those, but Margaret O'Brien, who was a child star, was awarded a special Oscar for Best Child Actor. They did that kind of back in those days. Not so much anymore. Maybe we need to bring that one back. This was a box office smash, grossing more money than any prior MGM release, with the exception of Gone with the Wind. So pretty well lauded, loved even at the time of its release. The Trolley Song was ranked number 26 on the AFI list of great movie songs. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas ranked number 72. The movie itself was in the top 25 greatest movie musicals of all time list. And it's just a beloved classic. And Judy Garland actually scoffed at the idea of portraying yet another teenager. She was 21 when the filming began, and she didn't really want anything to do with the film. Her mom even went to MGM chief Louis B. Mayer to kind of try and get her out of it. But Vincent Minnelli convinced her to play the part of Esther Smith is her role. And Garland later fell in love with the story. And years later, she considered it one of her favorite roles. Of course, and movie files and cinema files know this, director Vincent Minnelli and Judy Garland met on this set, and they got married. We wouldn't have Liza Minnelli if it wasn't for this movie. So Judy Garland and Vincent Minnelli, the director, and in fact, Liza Minnelli has said that that her mother married him because she felt extremely beautiful on film. And by the time Vincent Minnelli started editing the film in post-production, he and Judy Garland were living together and fell in love, and they actually announced their engagement at the world premiere of the film.
Wow, something. Joe Fortunato taking us to film school. Meet Me in St. Louis. Joe, the one thing, too, about this movie, and you mentioned Smash and the success and the musicals, but it really has a little bit of everything in it, right? It's got the emotion of moving away. It's got the Christmas holiday. It's got young love. It's really got a little bit of everything.
It really does. It's not one of the greatest musicals for nothing. Aside from great songs, great stars, it does have a little bit for everybody. And like you said, and this is one of those things we can debate. Is it really a Christmas movie if only a little part of it takes place in Christmas? I think when Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is one of your key songs, I think it counts. But yeah, this is a great film for everybody. If you've not seen it, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't, I really encourage you to check it out. Judy Garland is known historically in Hollywood for having some problems, personal problems, relationship problems, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, and they were starting to show up on this set. She would often complain of illnesses and headaches. She arrived late, and the crew and the cast really kind of were annoyed, but they didn't really realize some of the trouble that she was going through at the time. So that was kind of only discovered a little bit later. The entire cast and crew was impressed with Vincent Minnelli's very attention to detail in every shot. He had consulted the author of the book on how the interiors of the home should look, and There was basically everything on set was near perfection to the time period. Judy Garland recorded the classic trolley song in one single take. And this is something interesting because, again, we're sort of here today for Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. But the original lyrics were very dark, or at least darker, I should say. And Judy Garland refused to sing the original lyric, which was Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It may be your last, which is pretty grim.
Yeah.
She didn't want to sing that to little Margaret O'Brien, the child star, thinking that was terrifying. And she was right. So they recreated a more optimistic lyric, Let Your Heart Be Light. And that's the version that we all know today. And one more thing I want to make sure I get, I don't always give homework on film school, but here's a little something you might want to try. It's considered an essential Christmas Eve viewing with a lot of people, kind of a cult favorite. And if you begin, now this is kind of specific, if the film is begun at precisely 10:22 p.m. on New Year's Eve, the church bell that tolls midnight during the movie will time up perfectly with the real stroke of midnight. And you can be a fan and you can ring in Christmas morning with the characters on the film if you start the movie at 10:22 p.m. on New Year's Eve.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you this, because you piqued my interest a little bit there with Judy Garland, and you go back to the 40s, you have The Wizard of Oz, you have Meet Me in St. Louis. Was this the pinnacle of her career? And I asked that question because you mentioned that she started having some problems off screen and on the set and such. Did it start to go down after the filming of this movie?
Well, she had such a long career with a lot of ups and downs, so it's a little hard to kind of pinpoint that.
Okay.
As I mentioned, a lot of people on set didn't really realize that she had trouble brewing in her personal life. And so that would come out a little bit later. And like I said, she was only 21.
Yeah.
So this is very early in her career. And of course, she went on to do great things, even with her addictions and stuff. Notably, A Star Is Born, a decade later or so. She had comeback things, even in the 60s and such. So, I don't, it's a little hard to say what her peak was, but I think it's fair to say it's probably around this time. She certainly was a big star with Mickey Rooney in the 30s and 40s. And of course, Wizard of Oz is 1939. This is 1944. So you have a good chunk of time there where she was probably MGM's biggest female star anyway.
Joe Fortunato Film School on this Friday. Meet Me in St. Louis. And I think he's right. I think he's piqued a lot of our interest to go back and maybe take that in during this holiday season for sure. Meet Me in St. Louis. Well, Joe, you know what? We're kind. We're thinking good things for you. We're going to give you next Friday off. And we won't go to
thank you. I appreciate it.
You and I will reconvene on Friday, January 3rd. So with that being said, I bring that up because I want you to have a great holiday. Thanks for all your work with us here on the morning show, my friend. You get up every morning. Joe's with us. We do some work during the week as Joe's figuring out which one movie to go down in the film school. He really takes a lot of pride in this, and it's all out of his goodness of his heart. So I appreciate that, Joe, for being part of the Ray Horner Morning Show. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Ray. And it is a labor of love. I love doing it. I love working with you and the rest of the crew there at WAKR. And I love our audience. And it's just a lot of fun. And I feel blessed to be able to talk about something I love, classic movies, and share that with everybody each week.
Yeah, it's terrific. Joe, thank you again. And we'll talk to you in 2025, my friend.
Have a great week and a happy holiday, everybody. We'll talk to you in the new year.
There you go. Film study professor Joe Fortunato. He joins us Fridays at this time for Film School on WAKR.